Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with Green-White Depths and a pretty special list because MoonMadness was able to take this to, I believe, 2 top 4s of the Legacy Challenge, which is really sweet. This is just a green-white base, so no splashes. We have some pretty cool cards in here, like Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which has seen in and out play. We obviously have Talon Gates, probably now a mainstay for Depths. Maze of Ith, I would say in the flex position alongside the 2 Prismatic Endings, but being on green-white, you do want a little bit extra removal, which is nice. We have 2 libraries for card advantage, which I really like as well. I have been trying out the split of both library and loam, but I do find with loam you really want to have access to just more, either like go all in on the loam plan, or yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is that with loam you either have to have like a exploration type effect or ways to get back your threats, because outside of Dark Depths you only have Knight and Reclaim to really win games, so there's that. Hey Kata, a huge thank you for the sub, I very much appreciate that. But yeah, just really cool. I really like coming back to formats with kind of the basic take on a deck being green-white and not splashing a color, seeing how I feel about it. If I do want to splash a color, why would I splash it? What sort of cards would I be taking out? So pretty happy to see where this ends up. I've been seeing a lot more oops in Legacy, obviously pretty well positioned, which this deck might have a bit of a tough time against, especially on the draw. But we do have 1 endurance. We have the 4 crop rotations for Bojuka Bog with a reuse with Echoing Deeps if needed. And then post board, we have cards like Deafening Silence, Surgical, Force of Vigor. So I think that the sideboard looks like it's really geared towards what you actually have issues with, and having a lot of free spells in things like Surgical, Force, Fairy Macabre, or obviously Green Sun's targets, which are still very powerful in Gaddock and Collect Oof. Endurance can also be in this sort of free slot. Path, just a really good removal spell in terms of being able to deal with anything from a 1-drop to a 7-drop. Veil of Summer, always a fan, and I don't mind one-offs. I find that Veil can be a really big blowout at times, so the Veil would be pretty cool. Hey FGC, welcome. Choke, again, just one of those cards that just as a one-off is a nice little, yeah, a bit of a speed bump for some of the more control style decks. And then Deafening Silence, I think, is just kind of a given in Green-White X, whether you're on Depths or Maverick. It's just a great way to gain extra turns against combo decks, so you have time to put down your other pieces of disruption and hopefully pressure. But that's about it. A big congratulations to Moon. Really cool to see. Yeah, Depths do well. Play points, Legacy League, nice. Gameplay. Hope you're all doing well. I've been quite sporadic with my Legacy content this year, and I would really love to get back into a more consistent schedule, but it is tough. But yeah, I would love to get back towards that 2 times a week. I do have some software as well to work towards more YouTube exclusive content, where I get to cut down a lot of the silence. So we'll see how that goes. Hey Grim, nice to see you in chat. Very much appreciate you coming in. Panda, welcome. Hope you're doing well. I found some Star Wars style tokens in my tokens box that I was sorting over the weekend, and thought of you and your very cool Star Wars custom tokens from none other than Kai Saratarix. Yeah, they're just like 2/2 stormtroopers, but they're pretty cool. Someone's actually done like custom art on a 2/2 and then added in like the foil bit to it, which is cool. Basically a 7-pointer. Nice. I'm glad to hear that. I know that Sunshine Coast Card House is doing regular 7-point on Saturdays, I believe, which is great to hear. All right, on the play with a bit of an interesting one. So we have one piece of the combo. We have Protection and Safekeeper, but typically not a card I want to be playing until I have at least, say, 4 lands or something like Flagstones in play. The Green Suns is nice. I'm not too sure with this hand with so much mana. It's not that appealing to go for Dryad Arbor turn 1, but that does turn on things like turn 2 Knight off the top. I feel like this is just one land too much. Like even a Wasteland would have been nice. So I think I am going to mulligan this. And mainly just because I don't really see what the plan is with this hand. Like we can't even hold up the Windswept for the Lush. So I'm pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay. Pretty easy mulligan decision here. No green mana, which is tough. So we will have to mulligan this. Okay. Not the worst hand. We get to keep this. We also have the library, which is quite nice. It's just a nice way to get back into the game after a mulligan. So we are going to keep this. It's going to be the reflexes because we don't even have a creature to be able to tag it with. And then I do like, obviously, Flagstones with swords, the Boseiju for the library. It could just be the Talon gates here. The crop rotation is many things, not just the combo. So I think it's Talon gates. And then we get to lead on the Flagstones, which can't be wastelanded effectively. Hold up swords. We're up against Eldrazi. So I'm actually pretty happy to have the swords and library here. Junior boy, appreciate it. But yeah, really cool to hear 7 points doing well. The Mana Clash coming up at the end of April in Melbourne will be very cool. I'll definitely be down in Melbourne for that. Okay, interesting. Having the Boseiju is pretty nice here. Just in case we want to tag like a Chalice if they're playing Chalice. I really hope this is the creature that makes Eldrazi cost less and not Chalice of the Void, but it is going to be Chalice. Okay. Reclaimer is... It's a little bit tough because if we play the Boseiju, then we only really have outs in Prismatic Ending to the turn 1 Chalice, which does turn off the rest of our hand. But I think we just have to drop this library and hope to... Yeah, find Prismatic. Maybe find a Wasteland as well. That's probably what I'm looking for if I want to pay 4. I will also have to pump 2 mana into Prismatic to get rid of the Chalice. Just to get above that 1 CMC. Okay. I'm going to put this on top, but we are going to pay for the land. And we will just go for a knight here. But definitely a tricky one. The Chalice being really strong. It's also quite nice because like with the opening hand, we probably would have just gone Windswept Pass in case it was say a Blood Moon deck, which means that the Chalice would have turned off the Safekeeper and also the Green Suns for 1 in hand. Opponent potentially looking at a Kozilek's Command here. This will be a tricky one. We do have the Force of Vigors, which is nice. We do have the Path to Exile, probably the best card. Doorkeeper doesn't do a whole lot. It only stops the ring if they play that. Okay. I'm happy just to see a little bit more from their deck. But you can definitely tell the power level here of Eldrazi is just unmatched from our side. The only thing I can really do is crop rotate away the Flagstones, which will get countered by the Chalice, but it will turn the Flagstones into a Lush to then try to dig for Prismatic Ending off the top. But I think you were just going to see a Eye of Ugin activation, or potentially just another command. Tops 2. I think we can just concede there. A little bit overdone. Force is tough because if they don't have a Chalice start, there's not too many other hits. But I think because Chalice is just that strong that I'll have to at least think of potentially 2. The Path is a pretty easy fit. I probably don't want to cut down on any creatures, even Safekeeper, just because it is a nice way to obviously protect my threats from things like Key Command. I could see a library coming down, but on the play, having the library is quite nice. Teague is actually quite strong at keeping command off the table, which is nice. And then I think it's got to be probably at least 1. I probably don't want to go down any further from 27 lands with 3 Moxen. I think that's fine. But I think taking out Steppe and Bog is okay. Like they might have Dismember, but they have Dismember. That's all good. I think it might just be 1 library and see how that goes. Hey, Tim, welcome. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, things are going well. We just bought a place, which is nice. Should be cool to, yeah, set up hopefully a pretty decent streaming setup in our place. I'm trying to think what else white could have for Eldrazi to really try to get down like a big threat, have some removal. All right. Just a little bit mediocre, like a little bit too fair for what we know we're up against. And that, like, even a turn 1 Safekeeper, turn 2. The thing this hand does have is turn 1 Safekeeper off the Yavimaya into stage, and then if we draw a depths, we can just play the depths and go off, and then still have Safekeeper plus Yav to protect. But I think otherwise, a little bit too tough. Okay, pretty happy with this, and probably just going to try to go double Reclaimer turn 1. Okay. So I think here it's the Green Suns we keep. Because if we top deck a lane, we can Green Suns for Gadok Teague. I could also make sure we can guarantee turn 2 Teague by getting rid of a Reclaimer, which is pretty interesting. That also would allow us to probably ditch the Yav to the Mox. So Mox, pitch Yav, play Reclaimer, play Windswept, and then hold up Lush. And then the following turn we get to Green Sun's Fatigue and draw into a decent card, hopefully, as well. I don't mind that. It's either that or keep the Reclaimer. Pretty interesting one. We're going to save this. I think it's guarantee. Like, there is a world where we just don't draw the extra land, or we draw like a Depths or a Maze and can't tap it. So we could keep the Yav in that case, but I like keeping this, bottoming the Reclaimer. Devourer. So we go Mox. Pitch Yav. Reclaimer. Windswept. At the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library. Interesting. I think what gets us here is like Soul Land, Grim. I don't think they can turn one Thought Not Seer, thankfully. We can also attack for 3 next turn, which is nice. While they're thinking, so I believe we took out Bog, Steppe, Library. This is actually pretty nice because we don't really care about the Reclaimer's ability. Pretty happy to put that on top. Because if they do name the Reclaimer, we wouldn't mind having access to some sort of protection spell like a Talon Gates through the crop rotation. And the nice thing is that they've traded a Lotus Petal plus the Flute to name Reclaimer most likely, and the Reclaimer can still attack, so they will have to deal with it at some point. We'll go for the Savannah. Go Fatigue. The card that would suck here is obviously Thought-Knot Seer being a 4/4. It would take the crop rotation, turn off Talon Gates, and then just kind of stall the board in a really effective way. Prismatic's pretty sweet here, but we can't cast it with the Fatigue in play, which is pretty funny. I kind of wish Crop had some sort of way to grow creatures. I guess you get that with Scythe Cub. The issue is if we don't attack with a Teague and we're just attacking for 3, I don't think we race the Flesh Raker. So I think I'm pretty happy if the Flesh Raker and the Teague trade. Probably not. I reckon I'm 60-40. But now that the Teague is obviously turning off our ending, that is something to worry about. I'm happy to see if they block, because that gives me some info. No. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Now, just to confirm. We have Wasteland as well. I mean, Wasteland here is not the worst. But the Flesh Raker making the tokens is also pretty tough. They have 3 cards. I mean, there's a world where they have to spend both the Petal and the Spawn to get like a 4-drop or something bigger in play, so I don't mind being aggressive here. Just to make sure as well they can't just get a bunch of spawns out that they don't use to then just jump block with. Yeah. I do like trying to restrict their mana as much as possible. Interesting. That is one reason to not Wasteland there, is that it does turn off your 3-drops, which is pretty tough. I'm trying to think what sort of flash creature they could have. There's not any that come to mind. And this Tomb adds up as well. The Tomb plus on board is lethal. They could trade the Blastone here for the Reclaimer. If they tick it up to 2, they get rid of their own Grid Monolith and Flute. So I assume they won't go that route. But they also currently have access to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. Which is pretty brutal. This is probably where I wouldn't mind like a black splash for something like a Plague Engineer, which is decent if, say, like Springheart Nantuku still seen play. That does turn on Endurance, which is nice. But now I think we have to just be on blocking duty, or at least act like we're on blocking duty. Yeah. One card left. They have one card. If it's a command, it kind of sucks, but otherwise, we do get to return this and then Prismatic Ending the Fleshraker. Take 6 the following turn. But maybe command's the last card. Oh, interesting. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. No, because then we're still dead. Yeah. I think that's just it, sadly, because we could play the knight and block the biggest creature, but then we're still taking 8 over here. If we block here, we're taking 9. Tough. Definitely a matchup you need to be ready for, but it's a very hard matchup to be too good against. The consistency of soul lands is a big thing. So Wasteland not being that great means that typically you're not giving them too much of a speed bump, and you're obviously putting yourself behind, potentially even getting a creature on board. But yeah, tough. But yeah, Fleshraker is... I really like seeing the deck with Curiosity on Fleshraker. That seemed pretty sweet. Okay. pretty happy with this. I would say this is kind of a 6 with the flagstones, but happy to keep this. And it's against the fan, which is pretty cool. We will keep. Hopefully that means they're a pretty fair player, and therefore these swords will be okay. If it's like Misty into Underground Sea, then I'm going to be a little bit disappointed, but a Bayou I'm happy with. Once. Okay, maybe like a Elves deck. Which thankfully this hand is pretty great against. White. Okay. Okay, let's go Flagstones into Swords. One thing that Flagstones first does stop is the ability to double spell next turn if I do want to go Reclaimer and also Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. But because we saw the white, I'm definitely going to Swords next turn. Oh. Interesting. Well, this is also a little bit scary because it might mean they're trying to get towards a natural order plan. Play my own Reclaimer. And then we will get rid of this. And then we'll try to quick reflexes the white. This does feel like it's just going to be a natural order for a Traxxas. Okay. Not too much we can do there. Like double swords, they had 3 creatures, they had 4 mana. That's just how it plays. So they're on Skytub, which is pretty cool. For those of you who haven't seen this card, it is a 2 mana, 1 and a green, trample 2/2, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So you can go wide, which is really nice. And then if this is the second turn, or second time this ability has resolved, you can double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature instead. So if you have a fetch land, the fetch comes in, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, you fetch, the land comes in, trigger, you double the counters to 2, and then next turn if you play another fetch, land, put it on, 3/3, and then fetch, it becomes a 6/6, which is pretty sweet. So we do want to go somewhat wide here. So we'll get rid of the flagstones. Go and get another Savannah. And then probably go and get Yavimaya this time, which will allow us to play this flagstones. And then I haven't seen any removal from them just yet. I could play the Safekeeper. We could also go with the other Reclaimer. I'm trying to think. So we're on currently a bit of a clock. I don't mind going Reclaimer because with 4 mana we can go towards the combo with 1 and then keep this Atraxa off just a little bit with the second, with things like Maze of Ith or Talon Gates. Hey Mark, very cool to see you. Hope you're doing well. Always appreciate seeing you in chat. Okay, so they got rid of maybe they kept everything. No, they couldn't have. It goes to the bottom. Sorry. We know a fair bit of the hand. That's what I'll say. Yo, PT Bench, a huge thank you for the raid. Hope you had a great time streaming. For those of you coming from PT stream, I'm Dukes on Twitch. I typically stream fair decks in Legacy around green-white. Today we're playing a green-white depths list, which double top forward a Legacy challenge in the hands of MoonMadness, which is very cool. Yeah, this looks like Newton's latest creation. The Safekeeper there is pretty brutal because it will allow them to save... Save the Atraxa. So we need to get rid of the Safekeeper. That's going to be a tricky one. We do have Talon Gates. So if we go... Yeah, sadly the quick reflexes is a little bit awkward without an additional mana. Because we do have access to Talon Gates and then Echoing Deeps, the Talon Gates. We do have Endurance, which can block for a turn, but that's not great. If anything, that just gives them access to more lands to play. Yeah, I think we start with our quick reflexes. Sack this. Trigger goes on the stack. We target the Safekeeper. Oh. Interesting. It was a misclick by them, so I'm happy to concede there because we don't have an out anyway because we do need the extra mana, but obviously pretty tough. We did have the double swords for 2 creatures, but Natural Order just has that way of getting through. So here I do like the Path and the Gaddock Teague. Not a big fan. Karakas is slightly needed. Our plan is pretty much try to combo before they can. Hey, MoonMadness, very cool to see you in chat. A big congratulations on your current finishes. If you look at your MTG Goldfish stats, you've been doing very well with this list. So a huge kudos. The Endurance can come out. The nice thing about the Endurance is that we can shrink Reclaimers and Whites on their end if they do go for the fair plan. Ramunap is probably the card where I find that sometimes you just don't really need. It's not that necessary. So I think here it's just going to be the Boseiju. Like Boseiju can get rid of Cradle, but I think we have multiple ways to get rid of Cradle. And I think the Ramunap is just a little bit too cute. Doorkeeper Thrall's interesting because it does stop Atraxa. But that's really it. And it isn't tutorable, but I think I'm pretty happy just running this back. I like the double Sylvan Library. If you hit the first, then you can, of course, try to get the second or keep the second in the library. All right. A pretty sweet hand. We have a Termon Library to dig for removal. And I think here it's a little bit tricky because against Elves or Cradle Control, I really like to go for the combo as soon as possible. And here we could go for it quite early on. The issue is that in this position, mana is obviously a little bit of an issue where we definitely want the Windswept. I don't think we can rely on just the Moxen to be able to double spell the next turn. Maybe we can with the library. Maybe that's the plan. Keep the depths, keep the wasteland, be a little bit light on colored mana, but allow us to be able to have one piece of the combo. I believe this is just Golgari Cradle Control. With the Noble Hierarchs is just additional ways to accelerate mana on turn 1 and then have fodder around for Natural Order. Yeah, we're going to keep... And I am going to get rid of the Heath. The issue with Heath as well is that if you play the Wasteland as your land to cast the Sylvan Library, then it obviously gets even worse because they can just fetch for a basic. But I feel like there's so many cards like Cradle or like Lair that it's just worth having the Wasteland around. Thankfully, we aren't really a deck that many would bring in Force of Vigor against, but obviously here Force of Vigor would be a pretty big blowout. So what we really want with the library here is both mana and also removal. And you can see here that the forest in play is pretty great, but there's a crop, which is great for us. Okay, double crop's pretty nice. We probably don't need the other, but at the same time, we do want to dig a little bit. So here we get to go Savannah into Safekeeper this turn, and then next turn we have Dark Depths and then Crop for stage with 2 mana available, plus Safekeeper, which is exactly where we want to be. Just try to combo off faster than they can. We wouldn't be able to play Depths and also Crop into the combo next turn. And the additional crop rotation means we have access to Talon Gates or Sejiri Steppe to stop something like an Endurance or a Endurance or a Traxxer to block. So we're looking the goods. Put back the Talon Gates. Put back the Knight. Play the Depths. And then I think just because of Boseiju, potentially something like an Assassin's Trophy, I'm happy just to crop now. Get the stage. 1, 2. Copy stage. For anyone who doesn't know how this works, Dark Depths obviously comes into play with 10 counters on it. Thespian Stage is a land already in play. So when Thespian Stage becomes a copy of Dark Depths, because it hasn't entered, it just becomes a copy without any counters on it, which then triggers the Thespian Stage copy of Dark Depths, which means now we have to choose one to keep. And we want to keep the one with no counters on it. So we get rid of this one, and then it triggers, and now we get a nice... That didn't happen. We were even talking about it. We were even going through the motions. Too kind. Too kind opponent. Too kind. So of course they had a little misclick in game 1, and then I just had a little misclick. But you can tell what happens there. I think the only thing they could do is potentially try to get rid of the wasteland that was left in play, and then go after the Dark Depths without us having access to Safekeeper. But pretty tough. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Someone clip that. That's got to go on Twitter. But yeah, really good sportsmanship. I don't think I want to change anything. Like the only card that I'm thinking about is Doorkeeper Thrall, but to have this when Atraxa hits play, I would much rather go on the angle of Gaddock Teeg and have Gaddock Teeg in play so they can't cast either, Green Suns for 8 or Natural Order. So, but opponent, yeah, very cool. Saying that is what Magic is all about. Very, very nice. They can also double Talon if they are playing a version with either, I guess both Talons. Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. So I think what I'll do is we'll play this one out, and then if I get in a winning position, concede. But I do want a good quality game 3, so I won't tell them until that comes up. But yeah, they did have 4 mana, I believe. But hey, a big thank you to BT for the raid, for all of those who came in and those still watching. I will hopefully come back to a pretty decent schedule of twice a week. I used to stream Thursday nights, Sunday mornings, but now that we have Paper Legacy on Thursdays, I think I'll be streaming Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. So if you like green-white content, the fairer side of Legacy, definitely consider hitting that follow button. Or you can find all my previous content and new content on YouTube. Oh, I didn't submit, did I? There we go. Apologies. I don't mind this list, this opening hand. We have access to turn 1 removal of Savannah, and then we could just follow it up with Reclaimer and Wasteland, or turn 2 Library. Okay. I could also Wasteland the Lair here. I think that's a little bit too aggressive. By Wastelanding the Lair, I also turn off the Reclaimer to some extent. And then the following turn we can just ending. Even if they followed up with land into the Safekeeper, I don't think that they would be that aggressive and throw away another. So I actually don't mind just going after the land here. And then just seeing what their sort of setup is with mana next turn. If they have like land into, say, Noble Hierarch, that's pretty different. Okay. Here I do like fetching for Savannah, just so it opens up all plays next turn, whereas Flagstones means we can most likely only white spell, green spell. I think I'm probably most scared of just land pass, which I think is what they're doing by playing the Talons out here. Okay. There's the depths. So that's pretty interesting. So we could go Windswept, Savannah, Safekeeper, and Reclaimer. We could also go for just Library here, which they don't currently have too much pressure on. And Library being able to find a removal spell is quite nice. I feel it's quite weird to say, but I kind of feel like Library is just a little bit too slow here. Unless we find Green Suns, which would allow us to potentially turn off Natural Order from their end. So I think because of the amount of hits that we have off the Library, I'm going to Library here off the Flagstones, because it also means we could potentially crop rotate for Wasteland and also play a spell. Okay. What's pretty crazy here is even if we find 2 removal spells at the top, they still have end step Dryad Arbor, untapped land, Natural Order. All right, it has to be pretty good hits, and those are not it. We will put... The issue is, if I want to get rid of some of these cards, I have to fetch, and I probably want to... Yeah, it's tough because I want to fetch away probably at least the Flagstones, and I want to play the Dark Depths. We can't play the Windswept Heath, which means if we want to shuffle, we have to use the Reclaimer in our upkeep, which is a little bit odd because we want to get Stage, which comes in tapped. But I think... I think we do just want to... Yeah. I believe we want to play the Depths here, play the Safekeeper, play the Reclaimer. Does the Depths tapping for mana come up? Is that a reason to keep the Yav? 1, 2, 3, 4... I think it's the Bog. At worst, we have Echoing Deeps for Bojuka Bog. So let's go Depths, play Safekeeper, and then play Reclaimer. Ah, we actually do have a shuffle on board. Apologies. We can get rid of the Flagstones, because the Flagstones can be a shuffle effect thanks to Safekeeper, which I actually really like. I like using the Flagstones end step to get Lush Portico to then also have a look, which works out pretty well here because we do want to use the Flagstones anyway, so now we actually get that effect with some addition. So save this, sacrifice the Flagstones. But yeah, Metzl, that's a great piece of advice, because the damage can definitely add up. We will put the Moxen into the bin. 2 mana. Yeah, we should have enough even without it. I don't think the extra land is needed. The question is, do they have... Oh, another one. I think just the power of Reclaimer means I do want to save this. Getting rid of the Lush. And then we still have Yav, like with crop rotation off the top, would be really nice. But I think the flexibility of Reclaimer is just too strong to throw away. A big reason to lead on Safekeeper in the previous turn and then play the Reclaimer is because of cards like Snuff Out. You don't want to play the Reclaimer and then play the Safekeeper, and then with this on the stack get snuffed out. That's a great way to learn how to sequence creatures against decks like this. Green Suns for 2. Okay. I wonder if it's cat or if it's another white. Honestly, it could also just be like Collector Oof. Turn off the Moxen. Not a great play. Like, I don't think he would bring in Oof, but it would be annoying to say the least. Oh, that makes combat a little bit interesting. Because this can get... Okay, interesting. There's Green Suns, which is quite nice if we want to get Teague. But I think if we get Teague, they might just overrun us to some extent. The cat's pretty strong. I've seen a lot of Maverick players talk about it. I've seen a lot of Depths players talk about it as well. Obviously Nadu as well, it's popping up. The nice thing about Knight is that it can get quite big with the Safekeeper and also just fetch stage right away. But at the same time, they have access to Bojuka Bog still. Honestly, it might just be hold up the combo. I could also actually put back this, play this, play a second Reclaimer, and then hold up the combo. Yeah, it's true. Maybe they took out the Bog because they didn't attack. That's a great pickup. Yeah. The funny thing with Cub as well is, I think I've been calling it Cat, apologies. The Cub makes combat a little bit more difficult because you can't just rely on Bog to make these creatures much smaller. Do I care about this? I don't think so. Like, I could get Talon, but I think I'm just taking time off the clock to get Marit. It does have trample too. Yeah, a lot of words to worry about. Okay. Ooh. That's kind of cool. But not really needed. I guess we can... I think Maze is actually better. We'll see if they tap the Cradle as well. I think just being a land... Oh, they don't. Okay. I think then we just try to upkeep. All right. This time. Look at that. We learn. One card left. Just double checking they do have double talons. Because obviously if they have access to double talons, then in game 2 they would have won. They've shown one, or they might have like an Echoing Deeps. Ah, they only play one at the moment. That's why. Nice. Yes, the cover's cool. The cover's really sweet. I feel like a Matt Sol deck. A Matt Sol card in some ways. All right, we're on the board, which is fantastic. Eldrazi and Cradle Control. Always sad as well, coming up against other green-white players, but... Oh, green-black, I should say. The Green Suns Sylvan Syndicate. But I do love a green on green battle. All right, on the play, which is fantastic. No white mana with the swords unless we... It takes a while to get there. We do have like Yav into Dryad Arbor. Turn 2, we could Green Suns for Elvish Reclaimer and then Wasteland them. I think again just a little bit tricky, that I'm happy to mulligan this. Pretty awkward here with the mana as well. We'll go to 5 and we'll find a library. Okay, but only one land. All right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Good things happen in 3s, correct? All right, let's go. Let's go. Ditching the Mox, ditching the Plains, ditching the Endurance and the Green Suns, and then just go off the Reclaimer. I think Reclaimer does a little bit more to get us out of, like, say if they're a graveyard deck, just to have that turn 2 Bojuka Bog potentially. Usually when your opponent mulligans like semi-aggressively in game 1 against you, you're like, oh, combo. But I think 3 mana, 3 cards, Savannah, Reclaimer, go. It's probably on the fairer side of mulligan decisions. Well, at least it's going to be a fast game. This could just be Doomsday, potentially. Okay. Well, we do have ways to win this. If they give us a turn. Otherwise, we're looking at sideboard cards such as Deafening Silence is nice against any sort of Dark Ritual deck, outside of, say, Dark Ritual into 3-mana creatures. Doorkeeper Thrall is great. Collector Oof and Choke do their part. The extra Endurance and Veil aren't too bad either. So they know the coast is clear. I only have the one card, so I can't have Endurance plus green card. I don't have a Bayou in place. This can't be like a Snuff Out. Hey, Wol. Yeah, GG's. The like Cradle is really impressive. I mean, game one, definitely no complaints. Like I had double Swords to Plowshares, and you were still able to natural order turn 3, and then the Safekeeper with Atraxa is very cool. Like I just couldn't find a way to be able to deal with the Safekeeper plus probably Talon and then Talon again. But yeah, good times. So they didn't go off on their turn. I think the only thing we can hope for is they play another, say, Underground Sea. No, okay. Maybe Talon Gates by phasing out. Maybe they feel like they have the removal spell for Swords to Plowshares or the counter magic. Yeah, so here I don't want to Swords it because of counter magic. We want to Talon Gates it to phase it out, which means that it'll be 0. And now I think we just hold up for it again in case they have a second, or if they have a second Oracle, we can't actually, because then there's still one in play. Yeah. Okay. Choke, Veil, Oof. Endurance, I don't mind. Even just to put them in the park of, you have to obviously respect Endurance. Deafening Silence and Thrall. The Swords can come out. The Maze can come out. The Bog can come out. 27 I think is fine. The Endurance can lead to some nice wins. The Reflexes can most likely come out. Maybe a Surgical. Not great, but it does give us like a way to get information about the hand. Actually, no, I'm going to keep in a Swords just in case they have some sort of sideboard strategy with like Opposition Agent, or maybe they have like a Murktide strategy. Actually, a land off the top would have been cool because we could have Swords the creature in play and then Talon Gates again through Echoing Deeps the other. Yeah, that's fair. The Cubs not being legendary as well, and I assume stacking is pretty disgusting as well, because if you have 2 on board, you play a fetch land, trigger, something gets +2/+2, and then if you fetch, land comes in, trigger, it becomes 2 to 4 and then 4 to 8. So it definitely gets big really quick in any way that you do it. The trample is also really cool. All right, would love to play first. A little bit of an awkward one, but I don't mind it. Like turn 1, we hold up Veil, end step go for Lush. Turn 2, fun fact, you can just play Echoing Deeps as a waste pretty much, which means it doesn't come in tapped, because it's you may have Echoing Deeps enter tapped, which is something I only recently found out. Hey, Michael Mapson, welcome. Big fan of the podcast. I'm just going to see how this plays out. I don't mind Windswept either going for Lush or holding up Veil for turn 1 Thoughtseize. Having the Endurance is nice, having the Crop is nice. There is a part of me that like once Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent happens, you just always have it in your head, but I think if they have that, they have that. There's not too much we can do there. Wow. Okay. So we do have like Crop Rotate for a Wasteland, which is nice. Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, very cool to have Palms Off Games. I need to update my overview to have them in. But yeah, Palms Off is sweet. They're a TCG-based company out of... Let's just bring them up. Our opponent is Doomsdaying. Oh, not that. Yeah, they have some really nice stuff. Oh, not that one. Any second now. Here we go. I really like their binders. I do want to get one of their binders. Probably the 12, but just like really nicely done. And then their sleeves are sweet. They set up a bunch of sleeves for my lender decks, which is really nice, as those obviously get a little bit dirty. I do have a storage box. But yeah, very cool for them to be like an Australian company, of course, but also willing to support. Thank you very much. But yeah, very overdue in that we have been working together for a while. I just never got the actual media to them to do the announcement. But yeah, Palms are very cool. Big in the Pokemon community, big in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Maybe the like old school KMC sleeves. They have a really nice like matte back finish. How do I get a photo of it? But yeah, they just have a really nice, like the dots on the back of the sleeve, like the really small dots. So when you shuffle it, it just feels really nice. The other sleeves that I did get that I'm a huge fan of, and I still can't figure out where they're from, are these like old school booster ones. So like this is like an Antiquities booster pack. And then there's like a Legends one, Fallen Empires. Like these are sweet for like pre-modern, I think, even though a lot of these sets aren't pre-modern viable. A 5th edition, the Dark, very cool. And then Arabian Nights. But yeah, really cool to see like the old booster artwork on these sleeves. I think that's really, really cool. All right. I feel like the plan is here to Lush into hopefully another green source, and then we can hold up Veil, Crop, and also Endurance. Another green source. I will have to double check if they can ship. I feel like it's a little bit too scary to try to Sylvan Library here. But I probably should have cropped. Like crop for... Yeah. My only thought here is crop for Wasteland. Which I don't mind. Like, I'm definitely doing it. And it does make the endurance a little bit better. It's a little bit tough if they have daze, because then they can just daze the Veil and keep the land. I think we should have just done this in my turn. Yeah. I think that's a big like level up as well, is just really coming to grips with what's in front of you and knowing that just because a spell says instant doesn't mean you have to cast it at instant speed. Like probably a lot of my better plays have been when I've just gone, you know what, I'm going to endurance in my turn so they can't cast a Murktide. Or I'm going to Veil in my turn so that this creature gets, I don't know, small little things. Small little things that seem to add up. I guess they could also have the Edge of Autumn to like cycle. Okay. That's fair. At least they lose this mana in upkeep. I think the cool thing about Dark Depths is that although it's a pretty challenging matchup, the turns are usually gone. Like you're done within 5 games or five turns. So you do get to think a lot about your players. Let's see. We'll try to Veil that. Force. Oh, don't. No. I will now endurance pitching Safekeeper. Maybe that's not great either, because like we don't really have anything in play that's going to get there. We do get to hopefully take out this Underground Sea by copying Wasteland with Echoing Deeps. I think I'm just rushing a bit here, which I shouldn't be. I mean, they also get back like the Underground Sea that we did Wasteland, so it doesn't really work that way. Yeah, very true. Khans was a great set, and I'm so happy when it comes back onto Arena. I'm not sure if it's come back more than once, but when it did come back, I was pretty happy with it. Ooh. I think here it's just Night, because Wastelanding myself means that Night could potentially just be... I mean, it is lethal next turn. So it's either Wasteland them and then see if they can win next turn, or it's play Night here and then make them have to win next turn. I only do Arena to hit my like gold every 2 days. So I wouldn't say that I'm a big Arena player. So I don't think I lose anything here by initiating with Wasteland to see if they have like a bounce spell. Obviously, that's my way to make this a 6/6. Okay. Well, I feel like that was just a really untidy way of winning, but we got there. And sometimes you just have to do that. But I think if they have some sort of removal spell here for Night, I think the play is to float green, go and get another Wasteland, take out the other Underground Sea, and then have 2 green left for Collector Oof, because I believe that would turn off all of their mana, unless they kept Island and Cavernous Souls. But I don't think they would have. We don't really see anything here that we want to change, so I'm pretty happy just to send it back. Interesting. So we have somewhat of a fast combo with turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, and that turns on Yavimaya off the top or Dark Depths. Yeah, because then you can crop away the Dryad Arbor to have Stage, Depths, and Yav in play. I think we'll see how this plays out. Opponent's been quite aggressive with their Doomsdays so far, both turn 1. But maybe they'll slow down. Very happy not to see a Duckrit into Op. It is it is pretty fair, but it does have the combo, which I think applying that pressure is pretty decent. Personal tutor. Okay. I think Deafening Silence here is probably the best draw, because it stops something like Darkrit into Doomsday on the top. We probably don't need the Karakas. I don't have a print, but I should. That's always a good thing to consider. Yeah, I do like the thought of black. The thought of Thoughtseize is really appealing for sure. I like that Thoughtseize disrupts, protects you, could potentially really make your opponent stumble. So there's still a pedal. All dazes are gone. Force, force, force. Okay. I think in that case, potentially next turn we try to Endurance pitch the Ramunap if we need to, or the following turn Green Suns for Oof as a way to turn off Lotus Petal. Maybe that's not good enough, especially if they have the Flooded Strand for a second blue source. But yeah, definitely some cobwebs, I will say. All right, 3 cards in deck, 3 cards in hand. Fetch to get a land means 2 cards. The question here is, do I lead on swords or endurance? I think it's endurance. Getting rid of the Ramunap. They pitch and then we swords. And then hope they don't have another Oracle. I mean, Wasteland would be great. So if we Green Suns for Oof, that really does nothing. I think we just have to Green Suns for Reclaimer and then hope that the card at the bottom is the other Oracle. And that way we can Talons. Tough. Haha. It is the playlist is Stream Beats by Harris Heller. Hey Stoffy, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Let me know if you play Legacy. What you play, if you have a local meta. Definitely becoming more of a premium for players to have a local Legacy scene. As cards continue to rise, cost of living continues to rise. It's definitely not easy. I know the answer. The answer there is you swords first. You swords first, draw the force, and then you endurance, because then at least the other Oracle is going to take time to get online. We're keeping this. This is quite nice. They wouldn't force, you think? When we're second Oracle? Well, then we have... Yeah, okay. Right. Dryad Arbor. I don't mind playing against decks more than once, because if you lose against it, hopefully you get to come back against it the following turn. Okay. This could be Eldrazi. Could still be Cradle control. Wasteland. Okay. Interesting. Quite aggressive. Cavern. Naming Eldrazi. Okay. Well, this could be over before it started, which is quite nice for us. I like just getting down the knight here and attacking with the Reclaimer, and then the following turn we have access to the Dark Depths combo. Red. Interesting. Ah, okay. That's not too bad. Ooh. Interesting. Can we get lethal? I feel like we can get lethal here. So we have 4 damage. That's not going to change. Let's bring up Paint. Because what we can do is tap the forest. Actually, yeah, tap the forest, tap Knight. Get a Wasteland if we want. Untap the Knight. No, because we want to go to combat. Yeah. 13. I don't think we can get that. 13, 5. In action 8. 8's pretty hard. I think you were just going to go depths. And then I believe we do want to make it now to play around Wasteland. And then we can also hold up Knight for, say, Talons to save it. And I also have a free attack here. Nice. Well, they didn't even, because this comes back in my upkeep. Ah, but I don't believe it has Summoning Sickness, so I think it comes back upkeep, then we just swing. Which is quite nice. Nice way to go about it. So in this matchup, we like the Path, we like the Teague, we like the Force of Vigor for potentially a Chalice, which is a little bit rough. It actually comes back during untap. Very cool. There we go. There you go. We can take out the Bog. And the Steppe. And an Endurance. Yeah. I don't mind second library. You could take the library out on the draw, seeing it is quite an aggressive matchup, but I think this hand's just a little bit too fair. Like turn 1 Reclaimer, turn 2 library potentially. It isn't the worst. It also has interaction in Wasteland, but no removal, no Prismatic Ending, no Swords of Plowshares, no Path to Exile. That's pretty tough. I think we need a hand where it cares about what our opponent is doing. This hand is very much just hope that what we're doing is actually going to matter. Also, Chalice is pretty brutal against his hand. No green mana outside of the second Flagstones, but I don't mind that. It also somewhat has the combo. But double ending is also pretty tough because a lot of their stuff is obviously there. Ooh, that's quite nice. Cast this, get rid of a Flagstones, play a Flagstones. Get rid of this. That's probably one of the better plays or the better draws we could have got. Oh, nothing? I did not expect that. That probably means it's going to be a K command, which means I'm happy just to hold up the crop rotation here. Like if they want to wasteland me, that's fine. Wow, another pass back? They're really scared of the 2020. So I could get it on board here, but I kind of like just passing back, playing the Wasteland. Going after the Tomb, I think. I'm just trying to... Maybe not. The Tomb does add up. Wow, nothing. Yeah, we definitely want to go for Safekeeper here. Which is nice because it's semi-free with the Flagstones. I have no idea what is in our opponent's hand because they have done nothing. A land here is perfect. That is the combo. We do have a free attack. Fleshraker is fine. There is a world where I'm supposed to go for it before second main in case they forgot to play a Wasteland. I think in that case, we will just go for it here. That was weird. That was really weird. I have no idea what that keep was, but here we are. 2 and 2. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. If you're not following, definitely consider following the channel. You can also find me here on YouTube, on Twitter, and of course on the Green Sun Zenith. I'll be back in 2 moments. Nice. Eldrazi, Doomsday, Cradle. A nice set of matchups. Like, challenging for sure. Eldrazi, TG, Control. All right. On the play, which is nice. No green mana is pretty tough here, so pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay. Pretty happy to keep this. Probably just putting back the extra Reclaimer. I could be greedy and put back the Forest, but I think I'm happy to keep this. Bottom a Reclaimer. And then... Actually pretty interesting. I think we'll just go Forest into Reclaimer because the Windswept Heath has so much benefit if we hold it. In Dryad Arbor potentially, Lush Portico, obviously Plains if we're up against a Blood Moon deck. It also has a shuffle effect with the library, so I do want to keep it. The benefit of Heath is if we draw another, then 2 Heaths in the bin plus the Reclaimer activation means it's a 3/4 as early as turn 2. Okay. Okay. Eldrazi, Doomsday, Cradle. But maybe this is it. Maybe we get our chance to redeem ourselves against Doomsday. Said I should have known from the Doomsday. All right, we'll do the correct thing. Get out our snipping tool. Take a squiz. So very similar to the other list, like Edge of Autumns. We have the personal tutors. We have the deep analysis. So we have pedal, days, force. Okay. So force of will is definitely there. Ponder, 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 brainstorm, brainstorm, brainstorm. Aha, brainstorm. Personal tutor, personal tutor. That might just be a 2 of, to be fair. Oh, there's a third. Maybe that's just a 3 of. That's a great point. There we go. 1 oracle. So that means they have 1 oracle there as well. Do we see any street rates? We don't. Potential. Oh, we see 1. Potentially a street. Dark Writ makes sense. Dark Writ. And then 1 in the bin? No. Maybe Doomsday gets rid of 1. Unless they still have 1 in hand. Anyway. Okay. Seeing that they are on just the 1 oracle, I think then the best play is just to keep up Talon gates. Consider was up here. Correct. So they're going to give us a turn. No. Now, is Lush more important than just another wasteland? I think it is, because we only have so much mana and we do want to hold up Reclaimer. So we might as well see if we can draw into the 1 endurance. That's the only card that really adds to it, and it is the endurance. Hell yes. Nice. Because if we're holding up Reclaimer for the Talon gates, and now we have endurance back up as well, which is fantastic. And we don't have to worry about days because days is off. There is potentially 1 force of will, but we might as well wasteland here. I wonder if I just want to endurance now. My thought for that is if they don't have another blue card in hand, like keeping them off the 1 draw. But I don't think that's relevant. Yeah. Chat, what do you think? Is there a reason to upkeep endurance before they draw a card? I don't think. Yeah. Ah, okay. Talon gates. I feel like they're reading this card now as if they haven't... Unless they have a third Oracle, is that a thing? Oh, we actually beat additional Oracle because we have quick reflexes to deal with this Oracle and then deal with the extra one with Echoing Deeps off the Talon Gates. And they can't counter the quick reflexes. Ah, they will have 0, that's true. Interesting, they're attacking. Why are they attacking? There's no reason not to block, especially with the yeah. Unearth isn't the worst because we have access to Bojuka Bog as well. Okay. Another Doomsday. They go down to 3, but then we have a lethal attacker potentially. But then we also have endurance and quick reflexes. Yeah, Bog now, of course. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, Bog now. Bog would be 100% correct. Apologies. I was just in fairyland, honestly. Yeah, Bog there, of course. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I should have. That's on me. Apologies. We definitely like these 3, and then I don't mind these. Choke, Oof, Veil, Endurance. Sorry, that was really bad. Yeah, they did really try. That was really cool. I appreciate the hustle from them. Maze. I don't mind the Boseiju because it is in some ways a wasteland to take them off blue if they do have another, if they only have the one basic. Reflexes. I think this is it. I don't mind this. Especially with Reclaimer and Flagstones. A little bit weak, but happy to see how it goes. I was going to say Mox Diamond off the top would have been pretty rad. I assume here it'll just be Surveil Land. Oh, Brainstorm, no fetch. Okay. Very interesting. Flagstone's pass here, I think is fine. Thought they might have been setting up just a hard cast Doomsday on turn 3. But it looks like they're trying to find just a little bit more. Okay. Interesting that they didn't fetch first, because now if they want to use that, they do need to obviously shuffle their pile. At this stage, I'm happy to get the Lush just to see if we can get a card out of the deck that isn't really going to do anything. And I think that's the card. Yeah. A little bit too slow. So we do it in a wasteland here, and then try to draw into like a crop rotation for another wasteland. They will most likely have a cycle creature. Does that matter? I do like that if we go Wasteland, Windswept, get another Reclaimer, we also just have them on a 2-turn clock. We obviously don't have much up here. Now, yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. We could attack here, put them to 6, Green Suns for another one, and have lethal the following turn. Or, which makes them have it this turn coming for them. Or we hold up Talon, which they now know about, which I feel like it means that they will be able to play around it, potentially with a second Oracle. But then we do have Green Suns for Endurance, potentially. I like making them have to go off next turn. Worst case, we also have Heart of the Cards Veil into Endurance. We gotta try. No. Tough. Running it back, honestly. Really want to see the Deafening Silences. Would love to see them. A little bit slow, but we do have a turn 3 here. Thanks to Yav off the crop. I think if I really wanted to like be a bit more competitive, I could try to mulligan once to Deafening Silence. But we are 2-2, and this hand has a plan, which is nice. Every point counts as well against a deck like Doomsday. I did not consider that as their play for turn, an actual consider. really don't want any of these, but at the same time, I don't see life total being an issue here. I'm also just going to crop right now. I don't want to show the Dark Depths. So now we get Yav, and then play the Depths, and then just... I could attack with the Reclaimer here. There's no reason not to. I could also just make the 2020 here as well and make them have some sort of bounce effect. The reason to do it now is that it would put 2 lands into the bin, which would grow the Reclaimer. I think that's actually worth doing. We can't play around a bounce effect anyway. At least typically most answers are going to be 2 mana. Oh, they couldn't get there. Well, nice. We got up against Doomsday, went down to Doomsday. Got up against Eldrazi, went down to Eldrazi. But we learned from our mistakes, which is really nice. So 3-2, like coming back to a positive record is always nice. Like I think that's the bare minimum. So I'm happy for that. And the list was sweet. List was cool. I think the only thing that I typically don't run is the second Flagstones, but I do see the value from it because it is just obviously so great with Reclaimer and Crop. But just having that as like an extra white source was just like a consideration. And even just like Reclaimer, that's also a consideration to know that you can go from Flagstones 1 to Flagstones 2, which is cool. But yeah, nice to... Yeah, really nice to like go down to Eldrazi and Doomsday and then play them again and get up against them. That's always a nice feeling. I really like that. It's late. It's a weekday, so I have work tomorrow, but a huge thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you like this content, definitely consider following the channel. It does a lot more than you think, especially when trying to potentially get new sponsors on board or other things. You are also very welcome. Really appreciate streaming with you all here. I apologize, sometimes I do get streamer brain and just do that classic, like we saw it tonight with the Thespian stage, let's be honest, and a few other moments. So I think 2025 is definitely the year of just shoring up a lot of my quick plays and really assessing the battlefield before making my decisions, because there's a lot of times on stream, and I say this all the time, is that I'll make the play, I'll then talk about the play, we will then realize there was a better play, and then that play obviously snowballs into a loss. So I think now it's just more about evaluating what's in front of me, talking about my decisions, and then making a play, which sounds so basic, but it's a really bad habit that I've obviously gotten into and I want to get out of it. So I would appreciate your help with that. I will catch you all next time. I'm going to see who quickly is streaming as well. Let's have a quick look. And hey, a big shout out again to PT Bench. That was really cool to see all of you come in and watch. So I appreciate that. It looks like Tagores is playing some Legacy, which is nice. So I will send you over there. But hey, we'll catch you next time. I'll be back hopefully Sunday morning. Cheers.